Imagine finding a document from the year 1300, the Middle Ages, that describes, in perfect high-definition detail, the launch of the iPhone. It describes the glass screen, the silicon chips, the global connection. You would think it's a hoax. You'd think it's impossible. But what if carbon dating proved, undeniably, that the document was ink dry 7 centuries before Steve Jobs was even born? That is exactly what we are dealing with when we open the scroll of Isaiah, specifically chapter 53. This isn't just poetry. This is a crime scene report written 700 years before the crime was committed. It is the forbidden chapter that has haunted skeptics and fueled the faith of millions for 2 millennia. Today, we aren't just reading verses. We are going to conduct a forensic analysis of the most controversial text in the Hebrew Bible. We are going to look at the smoking gun details, the specific, paradoxical, and impossible predictions that Christians argue point to only one man in history, Jesus of Nazareth. Buckle up. We are going deep. To understand the stakes, you have to understand the timeline. The prophet Isaiah lived in the 8th century BC. Even the most skeptical, critical scholars who try to date this text as late as possible during the Babylonian exile still have to admit it predates Jesus by at least 500 years. That's half a millennium. That is a massive expanse of time. And buried in this ancient scroll is a vision of a suffering servant. For centuries, Jewish scholars and Christian theologians have debated the identity of this figure. Is it the nation of Israel? Is it a righteous remnant? Or is it a specific individual Messiah? Let's look at the data. The text starts with a shock to the system. We expect a king. We expect a conqueror. But Isaiah 53 introduces a root out of dry ground. Think about a plant trying to survive in a desert. It's struggling. It's insignificant. The text says, "He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him." This breaks the Hollywood mold immediately. We want our heroes to look like heroes. We want charisma. We want power. But Isaiah predicts a Messiah who is physically unimpressive, socially invisible. Jesus didn't arrive in Rome or Jerusalem with an army. He was a carpenter from Nazareth, a town so backwater that people cracked jokes about it. He was a nobody from nowhere. The prophecy got the humility exactly right. But then, the text gets darker, much darker. Verse 3, "He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain." The Hebrew here is visceral. It describes a man who is actively shunned. People hid their faces from him. Think about the isolation of that. It's not just that people didn't like him. It's that they were repulsed. This aligns terrifyingly well with the end of Jesus' life. The crowd that cheered him on Palm Sunday? Gone. His best friends? Asleep or fleeing? One betrayed him with a kiss. Another denied he even knew him. By the time he was on the cross, he was utterly alone. The prophecy predicted a man abandoned by the world he came to save. But why? Why this suffering? This is where Isaiah 53 shifts from a biography to a theology. It changes from what happened to why it matters. Verse 5. This is the core. "But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities." Stop and look at those verbs. Pierced. Crushed. In the time of Isaiah, execution was often by stoning. You don't get pierced when you are stoned to death. You get crushed, sure, but pierced, that is a specific, peculiar detail. Fast forward 700 years. The Roman Empire invents a new, horrific form of capital punishment. Crucifixion. Nails through the wrists, nails through the heels, a spear through the side. Isaiah wrote the word pierced centuries before crucifixion was even a standard practice in Judea. It's a chillingly accurate forensic detail of the Messiah's death. And the motive? The punishment that brought us peace was upon him. This is the great exchange. It's a financial transaction written in blood. We owed the debt, he paid the price. The text says, "We all, like sheep, have gone astray." That's us. That's the human condition. Wandering, lost, doing our own thing. And the solution wasn't for us to try harder. The solution was for the Lord to lay on him the iniquity of us all. It's the scapegoat mechanism. All the toxicity, all the brokenness, all the evil of the world concentrated onto one innocent figure. And speaking of innocence, look at the trial. Verse 7 says, "He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth." Have you ever been accused of something you didn't do? What's your reflex? You scream. You defend yourself. You hire a lawyer. You fight. But the servant? Silence. When Jesus stood before Pilate, the man with the power to kill him or free him, Pilate was baffled. The Gospel of Matthew says Pilate was amazed because Jesus gave him no answer. He refused to play the game. He accepted the sentence. He went to the slaughter like a lamb. Isaiah saw that silence 700 years before the trial took place. Now, here is the plot twist that I think is the most mind-bending part of the entire chapter. It's in verse 9. "He was assigned a grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death." Read that again. That is a paradox. In the ancient world, and honestly in the modern world too, those two groups don't mix. If you die a criminal, assigned with the wicked, you get thrown in a pit. You get a mass grave. You are trash. You certainly don't get a VIP funeral. But the prophecy says, grave with the wicked? Yes, but also, with the rich? How is that physically possible? Let's look at the history. Jesus dies between two thieves. He is a convicted enemy of the state. By all laws of Rome, his body should have been discarded in Gehenna, the burning trash heap outside the city. But then, a man named Joseph of Arimathea steps out of the shadows. The Gospels tell us he was a wealthy man, a member of the Sanhedrin. He risks his reputation, goes to Pilate, and asks for the body. And he buries Jesus in his own private, hewn stone tomb, a rich man's tomb. Against all odds, against all Roman custom, the criminal Messiah was buried like a king. Isaiah called. He saw the paradox of the criminal death and the wealthy burial, and he wrote it down before Rome even existed. But the story doesn't end in the tomb. If it did, this would just be a tragedy. Verse 10 and 11 change everything. "Though the Lord makes his life an offering for guilt, he will see his offspring and prolong his days." Wait a minute. We just watched him get pierced, crushed, and buried. How can a dead man prolong his days? How can a man cut off from the land of the living see his offspring? There is only one explanation. He doesn't stay dead. Isaiah is predicting a resurrection. The servant offers his life, dies, and then he lives again to see the result of his sacrifice. He sees the light of life and is satisfied. This is the victory lap. The text says he will divide the spoils with the strong. He isn't just a victim. He is a victor. He conquered death itself. So, when you step back and look at the mosaic of Isaiah 53, what do you see? You see a humble birth. You see a life of sorrow and rejection. You see a silence before accusers. You see a death by piercing. You see a burial in a rich man's tomb. And you see a resurrection that justifies many. The statistical probability of one man accidentally fulfilling all these distinct contradictory details is astronomical. It's mathematically absurd. For the skeptic, it's a mystery that demands an answer. But for the believer, it is the anchor of hope. It's proof that the cross wasn't an accident. It wasn't plan B. It was the divine blueprint, written in the stars and on the scrolls, long before the first Christmas. The forbidden chapter isn't just about a servant. It's about a savior. And according to the evidence, his name is Jesus.